All right, so good morning. My name is Michael. Next slide. And I get the chance to go around and do some presentations in different places. And so I've learned that, hey, I can make some theological points as I introduce myself. So my full name, if you wanted to know, is Michael Eric Gillingham. Other things to know about me? Thank you. I'm really good at using handheld microphones. I, like you, have been created by God. We are His good and gracious creation, wonderfully and fearfully made. I have been called God's child in a special way in baptism. They brought me to the waters, my mom and my dad. I was drowned and called up to new life and made a new person in Jesus. And ever since then, I've never done anything wrong. Actually, that's not quite true. And so I go back to those waters again and again, reminding myself, I've been forgiven, I've been restored, I've been renewed. And God offers that forgiveness to me each and every day. I'm married to Lynn. You've already met her. And the fact the microphone fell off is not her fault. I completely accept responsibility. We've been married for a long time, since the last century, as I like to say. We have two sons, Josh and Matt, and they found two really nice girls to marry, though we were talking about church seats today, and we were sitting in our old church right there, and my son had the audacity to date and marry a girl from the other side of the sanctuary. Those are not our people. Our people are over here. I don't know what he was doing over there. At one point, Lynn said, we should go sit with him. I said, no. He made his choice. We have some grandchildren, Avery and Emerson, and then we also have a granddaughter named Ira, so two boys and a girl. And we've heard there's another grandchild on the way. Avery and Emerson are going to have, we think, a little sister. So they asked the boys, they're 5 and 2, what do you think we should name our little sister? And they said, Nacho. Nacho Gillingham. That's kind of a nice ring to it. I hope they don't go with that, but hey, who knows? I am a rostered deacon in Lutheran Church Canada, for those of you who know about those kind of things. And so I don't normally present sermons, and I'm not presenting a sermon today. I'm actually just giving you a presentation. Just want to share some things with you. My job is missionary deacon at Lamp. Talk a little bit more about what that looks like. And then I also wanted to let you know I'm one of the newer residents of Abbotsford. My wife and I were able to move there last spring. We, with my job with Lamp, I can live almost anywhere, and we thought about being a little closer to family, so we're really thankful that we've been able to do that. So. Forgot about that highway number 1, though. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's just an adventure every day. Next slide. So yeah, as you already talked about, I did youth ministry and worship music ministry and young adult ministry for many years. I actually started my first work in Port Coquitlam, and so was very familiar with this church. Would come over and hang out with the staff here and the youth and the school. I would sometimes come and do chapels for the school, so that was really fun. Special memories. And then from Port Coquitlam, we moved to central Alberta, worked in a little town called Rocky Mountain House. And then after that, I moved to a suburb of Edmonton, and I was there for 19 years. Now, when I first started working in youth ministry, I heard a statistic. I heard that the average youth worker lasts about 9 months in their job. And then they either get tired, or they get fired, or they find another job. So I'm pretty thankful that I've been able to do it for more than 9 months. It feels pretty good. One of the big things I did with my work is some stuff with music. So I wanted to make a little connection with you guys here this morning, in addition to what we've already talked about. So next slide. When I was at Port Coquitlam, I booked a group called Lost and Found to come and do a concert at the church. And it turns out that this young man named Ian Weems and his brother Orion also knew about this band. And so they came bouncing on down. I think they were still in Quesnel at the time. I think they took the Greyhound bus. Remember those things that you used to ride on? And so the first time I ever met Ian, your pastor, was at that concert. And then, as life sometimes does, we had the chance to work together. And so I became one of the trainers for the Crew Ministries music teams. And so Ian was actually on the first team that I worked with. Next slide. And that group was called Kingfisher. And so they toured for 2 years. I got to work with them for 2 years. That was really fun. So I would help them pick songs. We'd work on trying to do a good concert, kind of polishing things, the things that you say. Next slide. Ian loved it so much he just came back and back and back. And so he also toured with a group called Flood 40. And I didn't know this until his sister reminded me, but he'd actually done stuff with Crew even before he went on the road with Kingfisher. So that's just been a gift that Ian's had for a long time. And I'm glad. Last time I was here, I saw him being the pastor, and then he ran over and strapped on that guitar. So glad to hear he's still doing some music stuff too. So there's another picture and the next one. I don't know what was going on in that picture there, but, and next one. You might not know this, but your pastor is also, as they like to say, a godfather in the best sense of the term. So that's Ian and Miranda with Cassidy. And Cassidy's mom actually works for LAMP too, so the connections are all over the place. Next slide. So sometimes, you'll go in a certain direction for a while as you serve God, and then sometimes a new door opens, and you have to pray. You have to say, God, are you taking me in a new direction, or should I keep going in the one I was going in? So I had that opportunity a couple years ago to think about this job that I'm currently doing, and I decided to walk through that door. Next slide. So I currently serve with an organization called LAMP, Lutheran Association of Missionaries and Pilots, and it's a cross-cultural ministry sharing Jesus Christ with God's people in remote areas of Canada. That's our strong focus. Next slide. So LAMP was established in 1970 by Pastor Les Stalky, and he was a pastor with a pilot's license and a plane. And I've heard different stories. I heard that he used to take students from Concordia in Edmonton. He would take them up for a little flight, which would be kind of fun. I've heard that he would sometimes, to make a little extra money, he would take cargo north on his plane. I've heard that story. But along the way, he realized just what a need there is for pastoral care and ministry in the north. A lot of these communities are isolated, have various challenges, and he just found that need was there, and so he started the organization. Next slide. And the next slide. And so, since the beginning, we've always had a little red plane, and we still do, and so that's part of our logo. So next slide. You'll see it in our logo there, LAMP, and we continue to have one of those. Next slide. So again, just quickly, some of the history. Actually, the Lutheran Women's Missionary League was very important in providing a grant for some of the early planes that were purchased. And by the 1980s, LAMP had about 14 pastor pilots flying 14 planes all over northern Canada. And so just a busy, active ministry. But that's also a very expensive ministry. That's a lot of dollars. My wife has been getting more and more upset as we drive by the gas stations. Well, buying gas for airplanes is even more expensive. You don't want to know how expensive it is, but it's more expensive. Anyways, alongside that situation as it was developing, there was a realization that there's different ways to minister in these communities, and it might be good for us to gather volunteers to go into these communities and make some connections in addition to what the pastor pilots were doing. And so that became one of the new focus missions of LAMP, and so that's something that we really lean into today. We don't have as many pastor pilots, but we definitely do that community team outreach. And our current executive director is Steve Shave. He's from the US, and there's a picture of him. We'll keep going. So what do we believe at LAMP? We believe that the gospel of Jesus Christ can heal and transform people and communities. Sometimes I talk to people about people in the north, and they say, well, if they would just leave their villages or their towns, come to the city, get a good education, and get a good job in the city, everything would be great. That might work for some people. It doesn't work for most people. And one of our challenges is, how do we love and care and support for the people that don't do that stay in their villages? They love their communities. It's their home. They have family there. They want to live there. But they also need that hope and love that Jesus can give any of us, anywhere, right? Next slide. So we have a relatively small staff. Steve Shave is our executive director. We have one pilot. He is not a pastor. He is just a pilot. One of the main questions I get all the time is, oh, you work for LAMP. Does that mean you're a pilot? And the answer is no. I'm actually not allowed to be a pilot. When I fly with our pilot, I actually have my own set of controls. I could take over the plane, but I don't, because that wouldn't be a good idea. It's better to have the professionals do that. We also have what we would call field missionaries, and so I'm one. Pastor Hyde is one. He's from Saskatchewan. And then Nathan Schmidt, he was a DCE in Oregon, but he's just completed his training to be a pastor. So he's now Pastor Nathan Schmidt. He lives in Oregon and does most of the work with our BC communities. Next slide. We also have some office staff. And you know that thing Zoom that we learned how to do in COVID? Well, we do it now all the time because that's how we keep in touch. We're kind of spread out all over the place. So we're keeping up our Zoom skills. So we have some office staff as well in Edmonton. Catherine, our executive assistant, Shelley, Daryl, and then there's Andrew, our pilot. Next slide. So we have about 51 communities that we're connected with, and protocol for us is we go where we're invited. We don't try to force our way in anywhere, but if we're invited to a community, we'll do everything we can to make that happen. So I have 51 communities. Now, some of these communities had teams going before COVID, and they've kind of struggled since then to get back and to get going again. So it's a big part of what we're working on right now. Next slide. So why did I go and work with LAMP? Well, part of it is, again, you think about the threads of your life. I had long-time relationships with Indigenous people. My parents were foster parents, and so we had a lot of Indigenous kids that lived with us, and we came to love them very, very much a part of our heart and a part of our family. I did a lot of mission trips as a youth worker and just watched how that was so powerful for the young people that went and the adults that went with them, and also how it could benefit the communities. And so I just became somebody that really believes in mission trips. If you do them well, they can be really good. I like the way that LAMP is respected in these communities. I'll go into a community I've never been in before. I'll talk about LAMP, and instantly people talk about LAMP. They're excited about LAMP. They appreciate LAMP. LAMP has worked really hard to build those connections. LAMP also gives lots of good training and support to our volunteers, our team leaders, and our volunteer crews. And I love the fact that LAMP is out there trying to share the love and the hope of Jesus. That's really our goal at the end of the day. Let's keep going. So my job, because people ask me that sometimes, what exactly do you do again? I used to get that a lot when I was a youth worker too. So yeah, I guess you just have to explain yourself sometimes. I am really focused on community connections, so I try to stay in touch with the different community leaders during the year, and I've got some pictures about that I'll show you. I also stay in touch with the team leaders and volunteers that go to the communities that I work with. And then I get to do stuff like this. I get to come and be with you guys and talk about LAMP. Sometimes I go to conferences and do that too. And then a part of my job, which I haven't done as much as I will in the future, just reach out to some of our donors and supporters. LAMP has had a lot of support over many, many years from lots of friends, and we appreciate that, and we want to connect with those folks as well. So that's part of what my job looks like. Next slide. So those are the communities I go to, mostly northern Saskatchewan and northwestern Manitoba. If you're familiar with Manitoba, we have a community, we go to Thompson, but then we drive 350 kilometers north of Thompson to several communities, and then we also fly to some communities that are just south of the territory border there. So lots of quality time in Manitoba. Sometimes I fly in the plane. A lot of my communities I can drive to, some of them I can't. So sometimes I fly in the plane. And next slide. Sometimes I fly in a plane that looks like this. First time I ever did this was 2.5 years ago, and I was trying to climb in the front up by the pilot, and my shoe fell off in the lake. Like, this is not going well. Thankfully, somebody grabbed my shoe, otherwise I would have been wearing one shoe all week, and that would have been funny, but not fun. Next slide. Most of the time when I'm visiting my communities, I'm driving, and some of the roads are a little rough, so I tend to rent bigger vehicles or even pickup trucks. Next slide. So this is a quick example of a community that I would go to. It's called South Indian Lake. It's north and east of Thompson, Manitoba, and they have a ferry that goes to their community all year round. I did not expect to see open water when I was there, but the water is open and the boat goes across. So I drove up to the ferry. I crossed the ferry. It's not a long ride, but I crossed the ferry. Next slide. And then I do what I often do in communities. I just go to various places in the community and check in with people. So I went to the school, and I said hi to the staff at the school, the principal, the teachers, and they were excited to see me because there was a team that had gone to this community for many years. They hadn't been able to come more recently, and so they were really excited to see me and to catch up. Then I went, next slide, to the band office. And I was supposed to talk to a young man named Michael, but he was out of the office that day, but the chief was in. I had not met her before, but she invited me in her office, and we had a wonderful visit. I got to tell her a little bit about LAMP, and she got to tell me a little bit about the community and what's going on. So wonderful to make that connection. Next slide. This is the medical center there. No, I didn't go to the medical center on this particular trip, but sometimes I will. I'll go and check in. Sometimes I have donated goods that I leave for people. Next one. There's always, or often, a northern store, so I like to go there and just say hi. Because again, it's part of the community, a little bit of a community hub, and then next one. And then this is the Catholic Church in that community. Some of the communities that we go to are Catholic communities, some are Anglican, some are have a couple of different churches, but this one's Catholic. So related to that, next slide, one of the things I've enjoyed doing this job is getting to know different church leaders from different church communities. So this is the priest who works in Thompson, and he and about 7 other priests from India answered a call to come and serve in northern Manitoba. I did not expect to meet a priest from India in northern Manitoba. I said, "How was it when you got here?" He said, "Oh, it was cold." He said, "Actually, one of our brothers was here for about 2 weeks," and he said, "No, I'm going back to India." But it's been wonderful to meet these guys and get to know them. Next slide. This is another wonderful person I've met. His name is Jonathan, and I found this picture on his Facebook page, and I said, "Oh, I got to use that one." But he's connected with the Anglican community in his village, and what I've noticed on my travels, the Anglican Church has been really intentional about taking Indigenous people and leading them through a process of leadership development. So they go from being active lay people to readers, to deacons, to priests. And so Jonathan's on that journey. He's not done yet, but he's not waiting, right? He's doing ministry even now. He's reaching out and sharing the gospel with people and helping them out. Next slide. There were lots of forest fires in that area. And so part of what Jonathan did is he just organized some food for the community, just to be helpful to people. Next slide. He also helps organize things like confirmations and baptisms. And so we're glad to see that the people in that community, even though they don't have a resident priest, they still have access to those things. Next slide. This is a picture of Steve, our executive director, and myself on the right-hand side. That's Pastor Steve Martin. He's an Anglican priest in Grand Rapids. Again, wonderful to get a chance to meet him and work with him and try to encourage and support him a little bit, even as he encourages and supports us. And that's us visiting with some friends in the band office there too. Next slide. And that's me presenting or doing an exhibit table at Mission Fest. Next slide. And the youth gathering. We got a request from the gathering. They said, there's something that the youth could do. And I said, I don't know, maybe we could do some kind of a donation thing. And so we worked out that we were going to get them to donate socks. So the LWML groups in Ontario said, we are on it. And they delivered a mountain of socks to the youth gathering. So we had the youth sort those and organize those. And then I'm like, now I have to take this mountain of socks back to Manitoba. So we took a whole bunch of boxes to the post office, and I called my friend. I said, Gord, I'm going to send you a box or two. And it was more than that. He texted me at one point. He goes, Michael, I've been socked. But it was wonderful, the donations. I'm looking at the time. I'm going to talk for just a couple more minutes, if that's okay. Yeah, I don't want to go too long here, but next slide. And then there's an example of some of our donors. Abe and Betty are in Winnipeg. And yeah, they've been supporting the person that did my job before I started. They supported him for many years with their donations. And when I started, they were very gracious to say, oh, we'll support you too. So very kind. Appreciate that kind of support. Next slide. What do lamp teams do? All kinds of stuff. But mostly we start with kids ministry and go from there. Next slide. Those are all the teams that we sent out last year. Just want to introduce you to a couple of them, and then I think we'll wrap my part of the presentation up. Next slide. So we have younger people on our teams. We have older people. Sometimes families go. Different things happen. The group on the right couldn't go in the summer, so they went in November, and that was really fun. Next slide. The slide on the right, or the group on the right, they were actually going to go north, and then their community got evacuated to Winnipeg, so they actually invited them over to their church in Winnipeg. They actually did their lamp camp in Winnipeg, which was interesting. Next slide. So again, some younger folks and some older ones. Next slide. That's our executive director, Steve, and his wife, Kim. And if you're a person who prays, please pray for Luke. He went on the summer trip last year, had a great time, and then he came home, 24 years old, diagnosed with lung cancer, out of the blue. Healthy guy, active, so we're praying. It's not going well, so we're praying. We carry that in our hearts. So if you want to add Luke to your list, I wouldn't mind. Next slide. These are two of my favorite people I've met. This is Barb and Karen, their mother and daughter. And Barb is, want to guess how old Barb is? She's 90 years young. And she was up at the front leading the songs and doing I was like, Barb, you've inspired me. No. And yeah, wonderful to see them. Next slide. Sometimes, things happen and you end up having to do your program outside. Next slide. We often do stuff in the gym as well. Next slide. Next slide. And that's probably a good place to end it. So, yeah, I always put more slides in my presentation just in case I talk really fast and I have extra time. But it's been wonderful to be here with you guys this morning. Pray that would be a blessing for you to hear about the work that's happening. I know I'm blessed when I see it happening. But I also ask you to continue to pray for our brothers and sisters in Jesus up north, that they would hear and be encouraged by the good news of Jesus and his love, that we would continue to have teams that are willing to go and serve, and we're thankful for our donors too, that they support as they do. So thank you so much for giving me a little time to talk to you this morning. When Pastor Ian talked to me about this a couple months ago, I said, I would be happy to come and spend some time with the good people at Hillside and talk about lamps. So thanks for letting me do that.